Hi, my name is Judy and I'm the City Stitcher, and welcome to my Flosstube channel. Today is Sunday, June the 11th, and it is, okay, so I want to say that it's an overcast day, but it's not exact. I'm not sure it's actually overcast because it is incredibly smoky. We are back to smoky weather. Clearly, the forest fires in the northern part of the province are ongoing, and I did remember to go and check the what the numbers were. So there's about, now these are the numbers as of Saturday, so whether or not they've changed in the last 24 hours is anybody's guess, but there are, I'm going to say, so it's I'm saying there's 75 wildfires currently on fire here in Alberta, and in the generally in the northern part of the province, 25 of which are out of control. So they've got three categories, like there's under control, there's out of control, and then there's there's three categories. I don't remember what the third one is, but most importantly are the ones that are out of control. And there's so 25 is still quite a bit. There is a town in northern Alberta by the name of Edson, and the residents of that town have had to evacuate again for the second time since we've started having these out of control wildfires up there. So this is their second evacuation notice. So not good. There are, I was catching on the news that there are out of control wildfires in British Columbia, Alberta, the northern and eastern parts of Ontario. The Halifax fire seems to be under control. I don't know that it's completely out, but it has been brought under control. And, you know, some of the residents have been told that they are allowed to go back to their homes. But yeah, there's, I didn't check to see what the wildfire status was for Saskatchewan or Manitoba, but, you know, I'm close to saying like, whew, holy smokes, literally, a lot of Canada is on fire at the moment. So for those of you who left in the comments, there are a few of you who are commenting on how much rain you've been getting recently. Oh my goodness, send it north, send it north, send it north. We would appreciate that. And it's also one of those ones where I feel like they don't do a good job of telling us when the smoke is coming. Like, I mean, it can't just show up, you know, very quickly, but that's not true, because I saw some footage from smoke that was coming over New York City last week, and yeah, that came in a matter of hours, and it was dramatic. So it can come in a matter of hours, but again, it was one of those things where you wake up in the morning and you go, nuts, I should not have left the windows open overnight. So you wake up and the first thing you do is like, and you're like, okay, no, it's smoky outside, quick, shut every window to try to keep that from coming into the house. So anyway, we are back to some smoky conditions here. Not good to be outside, so it's turned into a great day to be indoors. Anyway, that is the weather status here. As usual, the forecast is for some really great sunshiny, glorious weather, but if the smoky conditions continue, that's not really a lovely go outside and enjoy the weather. But there's also, as usual, a little bit of rain in the forecast, so I'm really hoping for some rain. Anyway, if you're new to this channel, this is a channel about cross-stitching and sometimes crocheting, and yeah, so if this is your first time, thank you for stopping by and spending some time with me. I hope you enjoy what you see, and for those of you who come back every week, as always, I truly appreciate those of you who come back and catch up on my stitching journey on a regular basis. So comments from last week. we've already talked about the ones with the people who have a lot of rain, that it's, I feel like it's in the southern part of the state, so, you know, just push those puppies up north. One more thing about the fires. There was a comment on one of the news things where they were talking about, you know, generally for where I live, you know, we kind of brace for impact in a wildfire season that, you know, in August we're at risk of having some smoky conditions. So if the smoky conditions are starting to show up in May, and, you know, we're in the early part of June, could prove to be a very interesting wildfire season for us this year. So let's see how that goes. And then, okay, Miss Agatha left a comment about she's currently working on the My Big Toe building blocks. Ooh, that's fantastic. I'm sorry, but now you have to leave further details. How many of them are you doing? And are you doing the colors as called for? Or are you changing them? I have those in my stash as well. I have quite a number of them. And I have a concept of how I would like to stitch them, but we're a long ways away from doing that. So, you know, if you're working on them, you know, always happy to hear what you're doing. Okay, and then Life with Kay was commenting, she was new to the channel, and she was commenting on how well she was enjoying the backdrop and how the color palette works together. I don't necessarily do that intentionally, but clearly I do have a color palette that I enjoy. But I will say occasionally I do wear colors that a friend of mine, she just goes, oh my goodness, it was painful. Like, so if I were to wear red, she would just go like, did you really, out of all of the clothes that you have, did you have to choose that? And sometimes I go, yes, just because, you know, anyway. And in case you're wondering, there's a red outfit in the schedule coming up, so you'll just have to be prepared for that Flosstube where I'm wearing red with this lovely backdrop. But thank you. I'm glad you enjoyed the backdrop. I love this room. I love this room. Sorry if I mentioned that. I love this room. I really do. And then Lala as well as Carrie were commenting that they both used the patterns that they have no business purchasing. And by the way, they've purchased them, which is certainly my case. Wait till we get to, you know, stash acquisitions for this video. Yeah, we all do it. And sometimes there are ones where I just go, I purchase them because I just enjoy looking at them. And there are some that are probably never going to get stitched in my lifetime, but I just enjoy looking at them in the stash. Oh, and Carrie also added the comment that she was thinking about, she was potentially needing to use my name the same way that I use Cheryl from Happy Handcraft Studio when I'm using her name in relation to crocheting, which we'll talk about in just a second. You are more than welcome to use my name using that fabulous tone that I use for Cheryl's name. So if you just sort of go, I had to purchase this because of, you know, Jody, totally fine with that. Totally fine. It happens to all of us, so you know, you might as well use my name. That's fine. And Lala, you also said that you had purchased a subscription for a new series, but you didn't say what the series was. What new series? Have I missed a new series? It may not be for me, but you know, I need details. And then Jay was commenting that he was wondering what I do while I'm stitching. And so the answer is a couple of things. So audiobooks is a big, I'm on an audiobook kick, and I do tend to go in these kicks. Like, there have been periods of time where it's just like it's podcasts all the time. It hasn't been podcasts for a while, but for a while there, it was like podcast. And there are a couple of podcasts that I'm behind on. Like, I think think one of them I'm behind like a whole season, so I need to get on that. Audiobooks, the other funny one is like old television series. You know, because I've seen them before, and they can just be going on, and they can be a familiar story, and I don't have to be paying attention. Sometimes if it's something new, I feel like I need to pay attention, and it's not necessary. Cross-stitching is not necessarily my best time for paying attention to other things. I have severely cut down on how much Flosstube I'm watching while I'm stitching because it's too distracting. I have a 5-year stitching plan, and I need to, you know, I need to focus on the stitching so I can actually execute the plan. Which reminds me, I think I forgot to write down a comment. I swear there's a comment from someone. I think it was Life with Kay, because she was commenting on it. It was nice to find a crafty planner, or someone who plans their crafts. Anyway, I was totally fine with a crafty planner. I don't know that it's really crafty, but you know, sounds good. I'm a crafty planner. Anyway, yeah. So I'm trying to watch Flosstube while I'm doing other things. So things like while if I'm setting up some patterns in Markup RXP, that's a good time for watching Flosstube. While I'm technically, this is more than you wanted to know, I'm behind on my laundry duties, so I need to catch up on that. So folding laundry, right? That's a great time to put the Flosstube on. So I'm trying to still keep up, but I'm behind on several. Anyway, I'll catch up eventually, right? And upside with Flosstubes, you know, if I'm not on them right away, just like mine, for the most part, they're not going away. So I do have the luxury. It's not like one of those, if you don't watch the episode by X amount of time, it goes away. I've got the luxury of saying, okay, if I don't catch it this week, I can come back next week, and in some cases then watch 2 episodes back to back, which I have been known to do, because I kind of look at a Flosstube and go like, ooh, look at how many episodes I'm behind, and then I just catch up on all of them. So yeah, old television shows or old movies that I've seen before, audiobooks, podcasts, yeah. Things for me to listen to. And even then, because if I have to severely do some counting, even then I have to go back and rewind and go, oh yeah, okay, now I'm somewhat paying enough attention to what's going on. So thank you for those comments. Always love to have the conversation going. And with that, let's get into the stitching that I've accomplished this week. And the title for this one is We're Off to a Good Start. I am feeling very, very, very positive about how my June so far is shaping up. I don't want to jinx myself, but even by just putting something out there that says we're off to a good start could be jinxing the whole plan. But I have a whole basket of things. It's on the wrong side this time. So as always, let's start off with my Sunday project, which is my ABC project at the moment, which is Winter ABCs by Little House Needleworks. I am stitching this on a 28 count Springfield Sage Lugana, using essentially the called for colors. I've tweaked a couple of things, and those are in the notes below, but nothing dramatic. And I had an okay week on this one. I didn't get quite as much done as I was hoping, but still made a pretty good start. This is not a start. This is a continuation. I made pretty good progress this week. So one of the things that I was doing was finally time to really finish putting in all the brown. So the brown in all of these tree trunks. They're up here, they're only 2 stitches each one, and they're far enough apart that it was a start and stop for each one of them. Brown here in the sleigh. I had about 5 stitches here in the tree trunk. And then of course I had all of the 1 stitch here at the bottom of this. So I did the finicky things and got them all complete. So I have everything to ice skates is complete. I had a moment where just like, is that true? It's like, no, that's true. So I have everything to ice skates. It would have been nice if I could have gotten all the way down. Well, actually that's not true. I knew that getting olive J was not likely because there's a bigger stitch here, but I was hoping to get K and L in the white done, but I ran out of time and I went, you're doing okay in terms of a timeline of making good progress on this, which is great. So yeah, so that's it. Yeah, it's going along. Like, I mean, probably in, you know, certainly in a couple of weeks, I'm expecting, and for sure by the end of June, I will be halfway through this. I was gonna look in Markup RxP to see just how far I was in this one, but I forgot to do that, so check back next week. But yeah, so decent progress on this. Like I say, really, if I'd just gotten 2 more letters, I would have been totally happy, but it's close. So normally this would get stitched on tonight, but because today is the 11th, I have another designated project that I work on the 11th of every month, so my stitching on this one will happen on Monday night. So we'll see how that goes. So yeah, it's coming along. Very, as I've said before, very, very happy with my fabric choice for this particular piece. All right. If I just turned the basket, it would work so much better. All right. Then, I forgot to bring the phone. Then I was working on the June Quaker From the Heart Needleart by Wendy, and I am stitching this on 40 count white Verdal. I'm doing the entire series. All of them are being done on white, and it's really exciting because I got it finished. So here is my version of this particular chart. Now, I did make some changes. First of all, it's finished, it's finished. I am using 2 of the called for colors, which is the Old Blue Jeans and Finley's Gold by Classic Colorworks. But I changed the green to Classic Colorworks Lemongrass. And those details are in the show notes below in case you want to come back to them. So what did I change? So I changed, so I did take out the cat and I put in a crown. And where did I get this crown from? I got the crown came from the Sampler Company's Ultimate Sampler Motifs source book. They have an entire page of crowns. So really what I did was I chose, I figured out how wide the cat was and how tall the cat was, and then I just kind of looked at my crown options to find something that was essentially the same size in terms of width and height. And so this was the choice that I made, and I'm perfectly happy with it. And then in the original, there was a heart at the bottom of this. And usually, for the most part, anytime there's a heart, I usually end up changing it into a diamond just because I like the diamond shape better than a heart shape. But I didn't, I ended up putting 2 because, you know, I have a thing about symmetry. So I'm totally fine with my changes. If you like them, that's great. If they're not for you, that's great too, because this one's staying in my house. And in fact, I've been looking at some finishing options for this series. Dun, dun, dun. Don't get excited. I don't know when it's actually going to get executed, but I'm coming up with the plan. And then, so Monday and Wednesday were the days that I stitched on the June Quaker and got that finished off. So that was great. Tuesday, of course, was the 6th of June, and I work on a royalty themed project on the 6th of every month. And my goal for this month was to finish the Queen Elizabeth Keepsake, pattern by Helen Philipps. This is off of Etsy. I am stitching mine on a 28 count white opalescent Lugana with essentially the called for colors. There might be a couple of tweaks. Like if I didn't have like one of the pinks, I think I went up a couple of shades. I don't think I've got those in the show notes because I think I have forgotten to write them down, so I need to work on that. But if you really want to know what the changes are, just let me know and I'll see if I can't dig them out. But this too was finished. So yes, so there's my finish. Some of the changes is that I used my petite Rainbow Gallery Petite Treasure braid for the gold around the words Queen Elizabeth, and I used it in the crown, and I used Krynic number 4 braid to where the gems are in that crown. So the crown, while you can't necessarily see it on camera, it is sparkly. In hindsight, and I think I talked about this the last time I pulled it out, if I'd really paid attention, because you know I have a thing about symmetry, and I'm stitching this on 28 count fabric, so it would have been easy to do this band here. So it extends 1 stitch past where these 2 boxes are. So if I had been paying attention and knowing myself, I would have just moved all of this over by 1 thread, and it would have, to me, I really noticed these boxes, these extra stitches over here. It'll be fine. It's not going to drive me nuts, and there's no way I was going to unstitch what I already had stitched. But if any of you have this in your stash and are contemplating working on it and have not started it, and you're working over 2 fabric threads when you're working on it, I would just move this entire band 1 thread to the left. It shouldn't have been that hard, but it was that hard. So 2 finishes back to back, 1 on Tuesday, 1 on Wednesday. Very, very positive. Very positive. So that's great. And just in case, oh yes, you were wondering, because I also did the other Queen Elizabeth one on the same fabric. So there are my 2 Helen Philipps designs completed and ready to be made into small pillows to go into my tea tins. So then on Thursday, and so for Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, I brought out a whip that I had previously started, which is the Canadian Patriotic Sampler by Jeannette Douglas Designs. So this is how it has been charted. And I know that there are Jeannette does fabulous, fabulous, fabulous designs. So this is, what I'm doing is no shade to Jeannette. I'm making a few changes. And one of these days I will catch up with Jeannette. We'll see what she thinks of my changes. And she could totally, because she knows me really well, she could sort of go, you've really kind of destroyed my design. And I'll go, I'm really sorry you feel that way, but hopefully I will love my final product because it's going to stay in my house. But this is what the called for pattern should look like. I've made some changes. I am stitching this on a 32 count Pearl Grey Lugana using the called for colors other than one of the called for colors is Gloriana silk by the name of Arroyo, and I have changed that out and I have replaced that with Caron Waterlilies Graphite. I was going to say true gray, but that's not right. That's not it. It's Graphite by Caron Waterlilies. Now, this is a previous whip. So this is, I'm just going to cover up everything that I've worked on. I know if I were really smart, I would just put in, I would do the editing and show you where I was before. But this is where I left this off when it, I don't even remember which year I started this on, but when it went into the Carry Forward Whip projects, this is where I ended this off. I am stitching this with one, so all of the called for colors are silks except for the blue that was used in the British flag. And I'm using one strand of silk over 2 fiber threads on 32 count. I am using 2 strands of silk anywhere where there are satin stitches. So all of these leaves in the top, all of the leaves here, and there's more to come. So for anything that's a satin stitch, I'm using 2 fiber threads. Now, I know as soon as I'm like, well, this is what was complete when I last showed this. Here's one of the interesting facts. One of the things that I had to do was I had stitched a bunch of things because I'm rearranging and I'm adjusting the pattern for me. And I had done a bunch of stitching, and then I realized once I'd gotten it done that it was off. It was not where it was supposed to be. Note to self, when you think you're changing things, you really, really, really do need to do the mock-up of what you really need to do, the recharting properly, and not just effectively eyeball it, because it would have saved all of that problem. So on Thursday when this came out, one of the tasks was actually to unstitch all of that, and we'll talk about that when I reveal what I've accomplished. And it wasn't, so as far as I'm concerned, it was not frogging, because frogging to me is when you have to like really rip it out and everything that you've taken out goes into the garbage. This is unstitching. I'm using silks. I try to go by the waste not, want not principle. So there's no point wasting that silk. So if you're just careful when you're unstitching it, I reused it, and I reused everything. Now, there are a couple spots where I had to use a little bit more because, you know, that's just life when you're unstitching. But for the most part, it worked out perfectly, which was great. And so what I have accomplished since then, since I started stitching on it this month, is, so I got the Canadian flag in over here. And in fact, I stitched it twice, because the first time I put it in, I had forgotten that I was using one strand of silk over 2 threads. And I think when I realized that I had started with 2 strands, I was like, it's going to be fine. And then I got to the end and I went, it's not fine. Anyway, so I unstitched that too. I know. At this point, you're probably going, how in the world are you calling this a really good start to the month? Progress. Anyway, I unstitched it and got it back in using the one strand, saved the silks. So I got the words in. Now, this is where, here comes some of the redesign. So this maple leaf has been moved up. Now, it's being moved up because I wanted all of this big design here centered. I have a thing about symmetry. And it had to be moved over. So it was centered. Anyway, so that's the white part. So all of these white stitches were the things that I had to unstitch. Now, as part of that, I was looking at the redesign that I had come up with and was ready to start on. And when I looked at it on Thursday, I still wasn't happy with it. So I went into redesign again mode. So what I'm now stitching is actually version 6 of my adjustments to this particular design to get it to be what I want it to be. I thought I really had it nailed down when I finished charting it out last year. Turned out I was wrong. So I redesigned, I did another version of this, which I'm now actually executing. So hopefully I'm going to be fine with it at the end because this is the one I'm actually stitching. So this is, anyway, so I got these last few words in. This got moved up. I have 3 dates here. So you know things have been shifting as opposed to the 2 dates that Jeannette had. So the dates I have chosen are 1867, which is the date of the British North American Act, which was the year that Canada was established as a federal dominion. So as far as I'm concerned, that's when Canada officially became a country as opposed to a series of British colonies. There's a whole thing about when the Constitution was repatriated, and, you know, as far as I was concerned, that date wasn't important to me. Then this next date is 1916, which I chose to put in there because that is the date when women in Alberta, particularly because that's the province that I live in, as well as several other provinces, not all of them, but several others, that was the year that several others also got the right for women to vote. And true to a lot of the history in North America, it didn't mean that all women got the right to vote. There were certainly Indigenous women and women of other ethnicities were still denied the right to vote. But that's, so that's the year that women, that sort of, if you look at particularly Alberta's history, that's the one that they sort of go, that's when women got the right to vote. And then the third date is 1965, because that is the date when the Canadian flag with the 2 red stripes on the outer edges and the red maple leaf on a white background in the center was adopted as Canada's national flag. 1965. So this has not been Canada's flag for very, very long. It's, yeah, so it's, I don't know that a lot of people, certainly even people of my age, you know, because it's been the only flag that I've known in my lifetime. And I actually have asked my parents, I'm like, do you remember the other flags? And she kind of looked at me like I was an idiot and went, of course. What are you talking about? Of course I know the other flag. But this is the only flag that I have known, but it has only been Canada's flag since officially recognized as Canada's flag since 1965. And because this is a very maple leaf and red and white intensive design, I wanted to have that date in there as well. So I got all of that done, and then I got all of this white back in. So I used all of those saved silks and got it back in. And so I, by Saturday night, I was like going, okay, not only did I have all the way back in, I got this accomplished. I'm setting myself up positively. And quite frankly, all of that was accomplished in 2 days of stitching, which I will acknowledge one of them was a Saturday. And there can be more time on a Saturday to do stitching. Not every Saturday, but some Saturdays. So that was positive for that. Now, this week, I'm hoping to get this center part filled in. Now, if more than that gets filled in, that's awesome. But I was looking at the instructions for this and went, shnikes! Oh my goodness. So there needs to be a little bit of work of behind the scenes color coding for me. So each of these maple leaves in here is a combination of 5 different colors. Each one of them has 5 different colors. In my head, I knew that there were different colors used in these things. In my head, I felt like each one of them was like one color. There's 5 different colors in every single one of those maple leaves. And, I'm going to use my Jeannette. Not that Jeannette watches the Flosstube, but, and since she doesn't at some point, I'll have to talk to her personally and go, oh my goodness. We'll see how fast it goes. We'll see how I feel at the end of it. But at the moment I'm going like, which is why I need to do some color coding on their specialty stitches, which are all totally easily doable. Easily doable. If you can do a satin stitch on a diagonal, if you can do it on the diagonal to the left or to the right and up and down and horizontally, you're totally fine. That covers all of the specialty stitches in those maple leaves. So I have to get ready to do that. So that might take a little longer than I was expecting. So we'll see how it goes. So it'll be interesting when you come back next week. If you come back next week and see how much progress I've made on this, and then see if we get into the other design elements that I have adjusted for my version of this particular chart. But yeah, I was very, like I say, when I got to the end of Saturday and went, okay, I'd unstitched, redesigned, got everything, and I feel like I'd made a positive start. I was feeling pretty good, because I got all of that accomplished by the 10th. I've had 2 finishes in the week. I got all of this done. I love this on the Pearl Grey Lugana. It's all coming together. So yes, hopefully I was feeling very hopeful about how much progress I was going to make this week until I looked at the instructions and went, sorry, 5? And in fact, in the write-up on those, she says it was kind of like a Sudoku puzzle about how to get all the colors and all the different spots and how they all got combined in wit. Anyway, check back later, because trust me, next week I will be talking about how that shaped up. All right, and that's all of the stitching that I got accomplished this week, but I feel like it was a very, very positive. Yeah, I've got a hair that seems to be, I can't seem to get it to stay off the forehead where I can feel it. Anyway, yeah, a very positive stitchy week. I feel like I made great progress. hopefully I will have great progress over the course of this next week as well, because that would be awesome. Yes, if I could make really great progress on that before we hit the 18th. Yeah, that would be great too. All right, with that, let's get into some stash quisitions. So I have some stash quisitions to show. The first stash quisition, I'm going to say this is entirely Carolyn Zook's fault from C. Zook Stitch on Flosstube. She showed this on her Flosstube. I wrote it down. I finished watching the Flosstube, and then I immediately went on to some searches to find it because I went, I need to get this. This is by Needle Treasures, and it's called How Far I Roam, and it is a kit. Now, it came to me, it is a completely unopened kit. So this is what it looks like. The kit comes with 14 count Aida, so I am planning on changing that out for a Lugana of some kind. Whether or not I keep it white, still up for debate. Check back later when I actually start it at some point. And of course it came with all of the called for flosses. Now, based on the design, it's me, you know, so I'm already changing out the fabric. There's a couple of colors in this design where I'm contemplating changing them out as well, but I'll deal with that when I actually crack this as a project to be worked on. But yeah, it's very whoops, look at that glare, reminiscent of the cross stitch project that I stitched for my aunt that I got back after she passed away, the one that says, I hear your footsteps, blah, 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 something, 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 and I know that you are home and safe, and something like that. It's stylistically, I feel like it's very similar, and I felt that they would make a very good pair. So yes, I don't know that this is going to get worked into the 5-year plan as it stands right now, but as we roll forward a couple of years, I'm hoping to get this into that 5-year plan. But this is Carolyn Zook's fault. She showed this, she got it off of a freebie table, but anywho, I now have one. And then the next two things I have to show you, which is the end of the stash acquisitions, I went to one of the thrift stores and I came home with a couple of items. Now, you'll laugh at this first one. I'm just trying to make sure I don't screw some of the things that are sitting here in the box. I picked up this tin. I was like, oh, actually, goes very well with my dress today. It's nice when, you know, the stash acquisitions, you know, go along with that. I picked this up at the thrift store. I have a concept of what I want to put onto this, but I kind of took one look at it and went, oh no, you're coming home, and you're certainly coming home for the wild price of $3 Canadian. And then the more important, shouldn't be that hard to figure out what to do with that. The more important find was, because Cheryl, not Cheryl, Cheryl from Happy Handcraft Studio has taught me the importance of going through the frame section and looking diligently at what is in there. And so while I was there, I was looking through the frame section and I went, ooh, ooh, ooh. Look at this frame. So it's hard to tell in this light, but this is a navy blue metallic frame for, again, the grand total of $3. And I went, you're navy blue. I don't even know what size you are. Doesn't matter. You're coming home. Something that I have that I will work on will end up fitting you. But I had a theory as to what I thought this was going to be for. And so I came home and I hauled it out and I went, perfect, it's perfect. So this is my, forgot to bring a board for this. Just a second, let me shuffle. Actually, let's do this. This is my Traditional Stitches 20th Anniversary Canvas Work Piece by Frida's Fancy Stitching, which I started this year. It is the perfect size. You know I'm going to screw this up because I'm going to try to bring it in on the other side. I think that is just going to be fantabulous. And there you go. So the nice thing about this and this pattern, step one was to stitch all the outlines of all the boxes. So this is the entire size of this design. It is the perfect size for this chart. I came home and just went, oh, perfect. So thrilling find at the thrift store, which was great. So thank you, Cheryl, for inspiring me to go to the thrift stores in my area and look for economical frames. I don't like when people use the word cheap, because cheap also implies lacking in quality, and that's not necessarily accurate. I like to say that they're very good economical purchases. So yeah, of the thrifting acquisitions, this is the favorite that came home. There were a couple of other acquisitions, but they were not crafting related. All right, so those are the stash acquisitions that are related to cross stitch. Let's talk about announcements, because I totally forgot to do this section last week. So this week it's going to be too late. So hopefully if you were interested in the Cliffside Stitches tile stitch along that they were doing, you downloaded all those patterns by today. I don't know whether they're coming down today. Anyway, I downloaded them, so I'm okay. They are starting another stitch along in July, so I will be very interested in seeing what that one is. I download them while they're free. I don't know when I'm going to start them. That's not true. I was going to say, what is my name for her? Lovely Linda from Leeds sent me a fantastic email. She sent me a picture of her, so she stitched the stitch along in her own colorway. It's a fantastic colorway for her. I have not decided what my colorway is going to be, and she kept up with it, which is amazing. I'm always impressed with people who keep up with those stitch alongs. So Linda, I have not responded to your email. I am behind on that one, but thank you so much for sending me that picture. It was awesome to see your stitching and the fact that you kept up with it. That was great. The other big announcement for this week is Stitching at the Library is this coming Saturday. So Saturday, June the 17th. Note, for those of you who've been before, there's a change of location for this month and a change in time. We are stitching at the Crowfoot Library here in Calgary. The address for that is in the notes section down below, and we are stitching in the afternoon this time instead of in the morning. So I have the room booked for 1 to 4, 1 to 4:30, something like that. Anyway, starting at 1, and let's, just in case, let's say 4 o'clock. If I don't have it till 4:30, I don't want anybody showing up at like 4:15 just to say hi and we're not there. This next Saturday, love to see you. You don't need to let me know in advance whether or not you're coming. If you're new to coming and stitching with us, there should be enough room in that location to accommodate more stitchers. We also, and again, if you're, there are always lots of people who are nervous or shy about meeting new people and entering new environments. So if you are one of those people and you're really uncertain about this, you don't have to come and stitch. You can just pop in and say hi and meet us and see who we are and see what we're stitching on. And you can just sort of say, I'm out running errands and I'm just popping in to say hi, and then you can assess for yourself. You are not obligated to come and stitch for a long time or whatever. But yes, so if you're in the greater Calgary area and you are around and have time in your schedule that you can come stitch with us, we would love to meet you and stitch with you. So again, Saturday, June the 17th at the Crowfoot Library from 1 to 4 p.m. All right, those are the announcements. Now we do need to have a little bit of a chat about Cheryl from Happy Handcraft Studio. So she's posted another Flosstube, which I did watch this week, and she's done some positive things. So she has come up with a clip of an evil laugh that she has incorporated into her Flosstube channel, which is great, and I enjoyed that. She did say I was mean, though. She said I was mean when I said that she had led me into the pit of crochet. So before we hit the crochet, we all know that she is the one who led me into the pit of crochet. She did it very gently and nicely with lovely dulcet tones. And, you know, it's not like she yanked me into the pit. She gently led me down the slope into the pit. I don't think that's mean, Cheryl. Anyway, she's teasing me. It's totally fine. I'm teasing her back. She'll be fine. Anyway. But if you haven't caught that video, you need to go catch up with her, because it was a great video. Loved what she's working on. She showed her temperature blanket, which of course was the gently leading me down into the pit of crochet. So I'm having a terrible time. I'm having to debate what I'm really going to do for my temperature blanket, which is one of the things that I'm planning on working on next year, but we'll see how that shapes up. Anyway, she didn't show it in the video previous to that, so I was thrilled when she showed it on this one, because I do like seeing how the Afghan is coming along. Because, you know, I have to choose my colors, and I have not chosen them as of yet. Which brings me to the crocheting that I did this week. So I did have a positive, I did do some crocheting this week, not a ton, because I was focused on getting some cross stitching done. But I did finish, I still haven't properly blocked this, but I did finish my big granny square lapgan. Really all I had to do was a few more rows of the white with this picot edging. The description on how to do the picot edging from where I got this particular pattern, as far as I was concerned, was not very good. So I did have to go onto the YouTube, but don't worry, on YouTube there's like a video for, I think, practically every crochet stitch known to man. So I just YouTubed it, found a different version, and went, I'm fine with my outcome with my picot edging. Quite frankly, if I had to do another picot edging, I would still have to go back to YouTube and look it up again as to what I did. But I got that finished. So this is lapgan number 2. As you can tell, this is all folded up, and I'm not planning on unfolding it. It's a big giant granny square. You get the gist. But this is lapgan number 2, finished this year, since Cheryl gently and dulcetly led me into the pit of crochet. My plan is to work on the weaving on that plaid poncho that I've previously shown, because I have decided that I am not going to start anything new until I get that completed, and at that point then I get to start 2 new projects, one of which I already know exactly what it is. I'm pretty sure I know exactly what the second one is, but I have officially, of the 2, yeah, it's over there on the other side, so it's too far. The 2 bags that I use for my crochet projects, one of them has actually been fully emptied out. Was very proud of that. And I took my leftover wool yarn and used my ball winder. So I have now officially got my remnants from, that's not true. Did I use, I must have used, I was going to say, and here's the other one, but this is not it. This is from the other one. That dark teal. I wonder if I had any of that left. Who knows? Now, see, I was going to say I've properly wound them all up, and I don't know that I have. Now I have to go back and check. But now, of course, here's my next dilemma, is that, of course, these are small amounts of yarn that are left over. So now I need to come up with a plan for how I'm going to use my leftover bits of yarn from these projects. So stay tuned, see if I come up with something for that. So that is my crocheting for this week. Again, very positive in terms of finishes. 2 cross stitch finishes, 1 crochet finish. I feel like I had a very, very positive and productive week so far. So yes, by June 11th, I think things so far this month are going well. Please don't let me have jinxed myself. All right. Plans for this week. As I said before, the big stitch tonight is going to be the working on my the piece that I work on the 11th of every month, which is Remember 911 by Just Nan. And then I've got my I've already decided what my stitching at the library piece is. I don't have it in Markup RxP, so I need to get that officially into Markup RxP so I can take that and be efficient while I'm at the library. And then working on my Canadian Patriotic Sampler, and we'll see how productive this week is. Yeah. Yep. Because I have a new start that is kitted up for this month, ready to go, which I really, 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 really want to get started on. But I don't want to start it until I get the Jeannette Douglas one finished. So here's hoping I can be super efficient so that I can start on my new one. It's a big stitch because I did get that one. I did spend some time getting that one into Markup RxP and got to the end and looked at the stitch count and went, shnikes. There's a lot of stitches in that. Some of it's simple, some of it is simple stitching. But we'll see how it goes. Check back later. I really, really hope I can get that one started this month. Anyway, with that, I'm going to wrap it up. That's all I have for you this week. So I hope you've had a really good week. As always, thinking of the people of the Ukraine, thinking of the people who are very, very close to all of the wildfires that are going on. Certainly thinking of all of the people who have had to evacuate, because that is incredibly stressful. Thinking of the firemen who are out there working to try to get those wildfires under control. It is a job that I look at and go, I would be terrible at that job. Absolutely, I would not be good at that job at all. It's an incredibly physical, demanding, stressful, hard work. So I'm very grateful to all of the firefighters that have come in from a variety of places. So it's not just Canadians, there are firefighters that are coming in from other countries to come help us fight these fires. I appreciate all of them. I appreciate all of the people who are willing to come and help the fires here who don't live here. It's an incredibly tough job. And yeah, man, I would just be a disaster at that. So very grateful to all of those who come and do that job. I don't know anybody personally who does that particular job, but I certainly have read stuff about what that job entails and how hard it is. And, you know, I was listening to one of the reports and they were talking about, certainly for the firefighters that have come in from other locations, that not surprisingly, their forestry departments are looking at what their wildfire situations are and trying to plan for when they're going to have to come back home to be prepared. I also hope that they're leaving in a little bit of time because those guys will need some downtime. You can't bring them back into an equally a stressful environment. Like I feel like you need to bring them home and at least give them a little bit of time off to recover somewhat before they go do the next one. But that's me, and anyway, so thinking of them as well. So as always, safety first, safety first, safety first. I hope everyone is staying safe. If you are experiencing smoky conditions, indoors is best. It's not easy for kids, and I get that. And it was interesting watching the debates that were raging as to whether or not schools should be canceling recess. And I'm like, oh my goodness, when in doubt, cancel recess. I know it's easier to let them outside and run around, but you may just have to shove them all into a gym. Safety first, safety first, safety first. So I hope you're staying safe. I hope you're staying healthy. I hope you're finding some time to do some stitching, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.